Afghanistan is holding its fourth presidential election since the fall of the Taliban. Taliban have openly threatened to disrupt the polls, but the government has been insisting that nothing will prevent them from holding this important democratic process. Afghan government says that elections are an important principle of democracy and will defend it at any cost. But is Afghanistan ready to have a secure, transparent and fair election? Welcome to RTA Global Talk. I am Diva Patang. In the show we have Deputy of Independent Election Commission, Abdul Rishtya, Deputy Chief of Security from the Ministry of Interior, Mr. Khushal Sadat, First Secretary of Afghanistan Embassy to the United Kingdom, Mr. Noormal, and the Afghan diaspora with us here in our London studio. I welcome you all. Let me start with the Afghan Election Commission. Mr. Rishtya, is the Commission ready to deliver this election?
Yes, we are, IEC is well prepared for this election. The sensitive, non-sensitive material are all dispatched to provinces, and as well as the recruitment is almost completed. We are ready from material, technology, human resource, and all aspects for 28 September presidential election.
Mr. Rishtya, in that case, how many of the polling stations will be operational on the elections day?
As per the IEC, we have 5,373 polling stations to be operate on that day. But according to the Ministry of Interior report, 431 polling stations will be not properly secure on that day. But Ministry of Interior is trying their best to open all those polling stations too.
So does this mean that all the election material being delivered to the polling stations all around the country?
As per the National Movement Plan, all the material dispatched to the provinces, and then from the provinces to the districts, and then one day in advance from the districts to the station. Like one day ahead, all the sensitive, non-sensitive material should be in polling centers and stations.
There are reports that hundreds of polling stations will be closed on the day. You mentioned 431. Where and why?
That's actually due to security reasons, but in terms of, as I said, sensitive and non-sensitive materials, they are available at the district level in our warehouses. As it is secured by our national forces, then the material could be easily dispatched to those centers too.
Mr. Sadat, security is a big concern and the Taliban have threatened the polling process. How confident are you that the voters will be safe enough to go to the polling stations?
The Afghan National Security Forces lately had tremendous successes in the battlefield. The Taliban were hoping that they would take over an area and districts, potentially provinces, where they will completely bar the national process of election. But lately, the Afghan National Security Forces were able to not only not allow them to achieve those objectives, but we've taken a lot more ground from them, and we've inflicted a huge amount of casualties to the enemy. That said, we're coming to a critical stage of our history, which is the national process of elections, and I'm very confident the Afghan security forces will secure the polling stations.
How many additional forces will you be deploying to areas where security risks are quite high?
So we've divided, we've analyzed the areas based on security threat levels. So the certain areas are high risk that we will look to deploy additional forces and additional assets that will protect those areas. And then certain are medium to low that we assess that there are significant and enough forces that will provide the security for the election days. So we have a comprehensive plan for this security plan for this process. Today, all the assigned forces have been deployed to those locations, and will start providing the security for those stations.
which districts or areas did you divide them at a high risk?
There are a number of districts in various parts of the country. Some are in the south, some are in the north, and as well as east and northwest. There all those stations that Mr. Rishtya mentioned that are closed, in those near those areas, near those polling stations, we will have a number of polling stations that will allow the people from those areas where there's no polling station or is closed, that will come to those that are open. Although there will be high risk, but it will be security will be provided to ensure they cast their vote.
Mr. Noormal, to some extent, the peace talks with the Taliban discouraged the election process as there were calls for establishing an interim government, and certain sections of the international community were hesitant to support the democratic process in Afghanistan. The negotiations with the Taliban ended with just one tweet from the President Donald Trump. How the world is seeing Afghanistan elections now?
Thank you very much. I think I would say that the negotiations are not stopped, it's ongoing. The process that was started by Ambassador Zal was stopped through a tweet by President Trump, but that doesn't mean that the peace process will not go further. And with regard to the elections, I think our international partners have bluntly and clearly indicated their support to the elections and to the election commission in Afghanistan. So I think we have the international support. For example, the United Kingdom, that we are here right now, they indicated that they will be supporting the elections of Afghanistan, and they also donated like $8 million for the election process. So it means that the election process in Afghanistan is not only having a strong political will in the government, but also the international support. I'm glad that I'm hearing that our independent election commission, as well as the security forces, are well prepared to take this through, and we will have the elections in 5 days, inshallah.
Some politicians are trying to discourage the voting, not to cast the vote. How damaging is this for the democratic process?
I think the people have realized that it's really important for them to cast their vote and decide their future. It's a very important element of a democracy to have elections, and I urge everybody to go to the voting stations, cast their vote, and decide their future. So those politicians who are trying to encourage people to not vote, I think they're not only helping the people, but also taking the government and the whole country towards a question mark, which we don't know. If you encourage people not to vote, you should give them an alternative. If you don't give an alternative to people, I think that's not the right way to go.
So let me take some questions from our audience here as well. Anyone has any questions here? Can we have the lady on the second row, please?
Salam, my name is Mitra Ahmadsai. I'm an LLM student, and my question is for the Deputy Chief of Security, Mr. Sadat. How confident are you that the security forces will not be under pressure from different political and armed groups during elections?
Thank you. Do we have another question here? Can we have the gentleman on the first row, please?
My name is Hanif Al-Khouza. I'm an entrepreneur and a political activist living in London. My question is to the Election Commission and the government that one tweet from Donald Trump put the election in a limbo. That would there be any future impacts and possible impacts on the election if any more decisions or such decisions are made in Washington?
Thank you. Do we have another question here?
Hi. My name is Tahir Safi, one of the students at the UCL University studying law, economic justice and development. My question is to Mr. Saeed Abdulahad Rishtya Sahib. What role does the use of the latest technology play for voting, counting and presenting the result of the election? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rishtya, there was a question about assurance. What assurance would you be able to give that the political decision will not have an impact on the election's result? And also there was a question about technology.
I'm here to talk from operational perspective of the election. And I hope that for the time being, as we are talking now, we have just 4 days and few hours for election. And I hope that the election will be conducted at the specific time, 28 September 2019. In answer to Mr. Safai's question.
So you said that there are hopes.
Yes,
you said that there are hopes. Do you have doubts?
No, for me as an operation guy, I affirm that we are 100% ready, prepared for 28 September election. Coming back to Mr. Tahir's question, yes, usage of technology has three purposes, three main purposes. One is preventive measure for fraud during the E-Day, and as well as detecting fraud after election day and speed up the result tabulation. These are the purposes of using biometric technology on the election day.
Mr. Sadat, there was a question from the audience to you as well about the pressure from different political and armed groups. If you want to take that, please.
We, in the past few months, have been very clear and very strict on making sure that the police force and the security forces are depoliticized. Unfortunately, there has been the past history is there, but we have been very strict on making sure that the security forces not only meddle in the election process, but also do not adhere to outside pressure. So as leadership of the Ministry of Interior, we make sure that our police forces and our security forces are protected and doing the job as they're supposed to. We also have created an internal checks and balances team. We've created that to make sure to follow and monitor our security forces' performance and ensure that we do our job correctly.
How is the monitoring going on so far?
It's going, well, we're just beginning the process, but it's going well so far. We've made sure that we communicate first that there are going to be consequences if we see any security forces members that will not abide by the law, and we're very committed and strict in that, and we will make sure we continue.
Thank you. Mr. Noormal, do you want to add anything into this?
I'll just say that at this important point that we're talking about elections, we should really thank our national security forces that they have been doing really great, and they are there to protect us, to give us the protection to go and vote and cast our votes. So it's also our duty to pay respect back to the work that they are doing in Afghanistan and to the blood that they are putting in line to protect us, to cast our vote and perform our national duty.
Mr. Rishtya, there were cases of fraud and corruption. The judiciary sent a number of former commissioners to prison. How can the public trust the commission and other institutions responsible for their election?
Well, we have a system of how to strategically communicate each and every day progress with all the election stakeholders and as well as with the public. So far, we are in a very good track with all the political parties, the observers and civil societies, and our messaging to the public is very transparent and clear. It seems that the public, their trust is being built back on the election, and using the new technology with the new application will give another assurance to the public that the deduplication system in the server to detect fraud and having many measures on the polling station for fraud prevention. For example, that one person with the same sticker number cannot vote at the same station, and the device will stop them from doing that. With the same finger, the person cannot vote there. And furthermore, the most important things which the fraud prevention measure is that the voter list will be automatically read by the system through a QR code, encrypted QR code, that though a specific number of voter could be able to vote at the specific polling stations using unremovable ink and a sort of a special pen on the to check on the back of the ID, and that pen could be only readable by a torch light, a special torch light which could be used by the polling station staff at that day. There are numbers of things put in place for the transparency of the election and preventive measures for fraud and all these things on the election day. And these things are well communicated with the voters, with all election stakeholders, and we are in a good agreement with the political parties, civil societies, and all election observers.
What about the biometric process? Is photo compulsory?
Yes, biometric voting is compulsory. Using device is compulsory, and having the sticker, the QR code print out from the system is compulsory. Like the main device or system to be used at the polling station is this electronic device of and as well as the manual voter list. Both the device has a capability
photo?
that
What about
when
photo,
you take...
Mr. Rishtya? What about photo? Will you be taking
Yeah,
photo?
Yeah, as I said, it is commission decision to for more transparency on the election. The photo for male and female is compulsory for this election.
Then what about those families that they wouldn't allow the female member of the family to take photo? Does it mean that they will not be able to vote?
Yeah, there are many discussion, and like today, this afternoon, there was a meeting in commission. This issue is still under discussion to find a solution that adhere with the culture in Afghanistan. But for the time being, the photo for the voter is compulsory.
So do you think there's a possibility that this can be changed?
I cannot say something at this moment, but the commission has already started discussion on these things because there are like public complaints against this, and there is two things. One is like staying with the transparency by keeping the voter photo, because the system will detect a similar photo from the same face during the deduplication in the server. But if there is any solution, that will be most well.
Mr. Rishtya, you're part of the commission.
Yes.
What is your opinion in this? What do you think about this? What should be done?
In the commission, we have the secretariat which handle all the operational things, and the commission itself is at a policy level. Whatever policy and procedure developed and approved by the commission, we are obliged to implement those. For the time being, as I just said, photo is compulsory, and that will be compulsory at the polling day, at the election day. If any changes come, that could be accommodated in the system.
What about observers? Will there be enough or sufficient election observers available on the day?
Yeah, so for 118,000 observer has been registered with us from the political party, from the candidates, from the national and international civil society embassies, and in the total, till this afternoon, that was 118,000.
So will all the observers have access to all the polling stations as well?
Yes, they have an identification card, and the observer, there is a journal in the polling station. When they are going there, observing the election, they will just sign that they sign in this polling station, and they will be having an ID card to allow them at the polling station.
Mr. Sadat, is there anything you're doing to prevent security frauds during the election?
We are, as I said before, we are making sure that all the security forces that are assigned to the polling stations around the country, that we stay clear of any interference with the votes, or with anybody who is trying to harass people or force people or intimidate our compatriots from voting to one or another. So we will make sure that the Afghan security forces create a safe, and peaceful environment for our people to come and vote without any interference or security threats and challenges. And in order to make sure that that takes place effectively, we've created an additional organization that will monitor our own forces' performance and make sure if any of our security forces are caught wrongdoing, we will punish them in accordance to law. The law is very clear, the elections law as well as our constitution, that security forces will remain fully clear of any interference with the elections process.
So do you think that they will remain neutral?
Absolutely. We've instructed and ordered all our forces to remain completely neutral in this process and allow our people and our compatriots to cast their vote in this national and historic event.
Mr. Noormal, what do you think should be done to deliver a transparent presidential election and gain the trust of public that the voters' vote will be counted?
I think for transparency, there are key elements that we should consider. The first thing when you want to bring transparency is political will, and we are lucky that we have the political will that the elections will happen. The second important element is the operational preparedness and readiness, and our Independent Election Commission is ready and prepared to do the operation part, and our national security forces are proudly going to protect us on the day to cast our vote. And it's very good that we are hearing from Independent Election Commission that they're going to be widely using the technology to make sure that there won't be fraud or at least decrease the level of fraud in case there are some. And the other element is international community. We have a strong support from them. We have observers from them. They are closely monitoring and observing the election commission and the process on the day. And I think that's really important. And for the IEC, I think one of the main important elements is that they should make sure that they're communicating any updates with the people, the trust that they have established and they have built with the people. It's really important to keep that momentum, to make sure that the people are going to trust what's IEC doing. And the communication is key here to be able to keep and attract the trust of people that they have established.
Let me take some more questions from our audience here. Has anybody got any questions to ask here? The lady on the second row, please.
Hi, my name is Fazia Hosseini. I'm a student in London. My question is from Mr. Sadat. Cooperation between general public and police has been an important element, especially on the election day. However, there are claims that the lack of cooperation resulted in many tragedies. Is there any mechanism in place to tackle this issue? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? The gentleman on the third row, please.
Greetings to all, Faridullah Sahak from London. And I have a question from Abdul Rishtya. In most part of Afghanistan, there is no electricity or no internet. How will they assure that these biometric devices will work in those places? Thank you.
Can we also have the gentleman on the second row? Do you want to ask your question and introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Farid from Oxford University, a MSc student of Science and Politics. My question goes to General Sadat, and I'd like to recall him about the 2014 election, which cost many lives, finger cuts, and infrastructure destroyed. How would you do it differently this time not to recall that experience? And in addition, I'd like to know whether you have any concern or fear about 2019 election as you're the head of the security forces to control the security of this election. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go and ask Mr. Sadat to answer. Mr. Sadat, there was a very important question about road security. What is your plans about it?
Well, let me take the two questions. First from Fawzia Hosseini regarding the cooperation between the police and the public. And I'm very grateful from the immense support that our public have been giving to us. I mean, just past few weeks, we were able to regain the control of our 3 districts in northern Afghanistan and as well as in as well as in 2 others in Ghazni provinces and Faryab. And it was all because of the tremendous cooperation between the Afghan people and the security forces. That shows a huge support. The Afghan security forces are not of the last year or the years before. We have worked tirelessly and very hard in making sure that we clean our security forces from the elements that were harming that relationship between our people and the police. And secondly, the question of Mr. Fareed regarding the barbarism of the Taliban. It showed in the past elections that some of our people, some of our compatriots were harmed, their fingers were cut, or some have lost their lives. But thankfully, in the past few months, we've inflicted huge amount of damage to the Taliban. We've taken out a lot of their fighters from the battlefield, and I want to be very clear that they don't have the capabilities that they had in 2014. Their numbers have been attrited constantly, and we're going to continue pressing on them well beyond the elections. So we will do our best to ensure our people's safety and security, and that's our duty. And security forces are taking pride in providing that necessary security for our people.
Sure, but as we know that there are over 400 centers still closed because of security issues.
Correct. So the joint commission between the IEC as well as the security forces had the 5,373 locations previously assigned. Out of that, the 431 stations, which were, there were a number of reasons for it. It wasn't just because they're constantly insecure. I mean, we are actually hunting and trying to find the enemy in an area. So we looked at for a number of reasons. One, it was logistically sort of challenging because of the geography and terrain of Afghanistan. And 2, we thought putting a small element of security forces in a very far-fetched area of the country will actually, and in case it gets attacked, it will be, it will actually damage our people. It will hurt our people. So for a number of reasons, the decision was made to shut those and create other stations close by areas where it will allow our people to come and vote. It's just a matter of an hour walk in some areas that I've been and visited for them to come and cast their vote. But I want to highlight in the past couple of weeks some of the districts that we have retook. 43 other polling stations will be reopened because we've created the safe space for our people in Yamgan district of Badakhshan, in Warduj, in Kiran and Munjan, and a couple of districts in Ghazni province. So in those areas, we will have more stations reopened, and we will make sure that logistically all the materials are transported there safely and provide security during the election as well as after the elections, where we will make sure that the material is safely brought back to the centers and for the further process.
Mr. Rishtya, Mr. Sadat just mentioned that there are issues. One of them he mentioned is logistics. Do you want to comment on that?
I agree with Mr. Sadat that when we are talking about logistic, our vehicle is caught by the security force. It means we have the material ready and the transport ready, but the area that is caught, like when transporting all the material to that location, it's not secure. That's why those centers been reported as closed.
There was also a few questions to yourself. I believe there was a question about electricity, biometrics. Do you want to take that?
Mr. Fareed, yes, we consider the electricity problem in Afghanistan. The device, there are 3 devices. One is itself the biometric device, second is the printer, and the third one is a power bank. Device and the printer by itself with the current charge battery at the headquarters can work for 14 hours, and we have an additional power bank. If in case the power loss, they can recharge it and use the system with the power bank. Furthermore, we provided one spare biometric device per centers. It has already been considered all the powers.
Thank you very much. Mr. Noormal, how do you see the role of Afghan women in this election?
Indeed, it's really important that we have the inclusion of women and their participation. They are definitely half of the population of the country, and without them, we wouldn't be able to have a successful elections or successful peace process or anything that we want to pursue in Afghanistan and for the country. I totally would like to emphasize here that the role of the role of women in the elections is impeccable and very important, and we should make sure that their voice are heard and they are a part of the decision that they are taking for the future of Afghanistan.
But you mentioned that you want the woman's voice to be heard. But if a decision is made that photo is compulsory for biometrics, some women will not be able to vote. What do you have to say in that?
I think on the operational side, the IEC commented about this. They have had discussions about it. My personal opinion is that we should make sure that there are ways, the leeways that would make them and make the platform for them ready to be able to vote, to cast their vote, because their voice, it matters. If we want to have an election, it should be inclusive. It should be. We should make sure that everybody's heard and everybody's able to cast vote. If we are taking, for example, a woman coming from a small district of Helmand to go and vote for the person that she wants to, we should make sure that the photo would not avoid her of being able to elect the person that he wants to lead the country and make her future.
Sure, thank you very much. Mr. Rishtya, how confident are you that 2014 presidential election experience will not be repeated again?
Looking to the last election, the parliamentary election, we conducted a lesson learned in all the shortages and weaknesses we face in that election in terms of biometric, in terms of result tabulations, and as well as strategic communication. Those weaknesses are addressed in this election, and I hope there will be a speedy result tabulation, and the result will be soon announced. And we will, like the way we operating in a very transparent way, and sharing the information with all the stakeholders. Again, I am sure there won't be that sort of case repeated again in this election.
Even if it goes to the second round, you will be fully prepared for that?
Yes, second round is just a normal process. If it goes to the second round, the budget is already been secured and everything is in place, that we have a specific time period for the second round, and I'm sure we can conduct the election for the second round.
And finally, will you be able to promise voters that the election process and its result will be transparent?
Yeah, by sharing the transparent information, other than the vote secrecy, everything is disclosed with the public, and all the things are accessible and sharing every day. That will build the voter trust on the election commission.
Mr. Sadat, what assurance would you give that the security will not worsen from the current state?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we are seeing the successes of Afghan security forces every day. I just want to highlight something with regards to female participation. We have, together with the Ministry of Women Affairs, have added or hired the females, over 7,000 females and their confidants in each of our polling stations for female checks, because we have seen previously some females' involvement in terrorist attacks and so on. So in order to make sure that we have fully covered the security measures for the elections, we have female searchers that are trained and will be part of the search team. But I also want to assure that our fight against terrorism, against the Taliban, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, have been continuing. It's been very successful so far. We're going to increase it. We're going to ramp it up to many folds prior to elections as well as during the election, which will be much more of a sort of a part of the force will be on a static security as well as a mobile security, and then it will continue beyond. So I want to assure that the Afghan security forces of today are not of the 8 months ago. We've brought tremendous changes. We have changed our processes. We've changed our leaders at various levels, and we've been very successful. And that's going to continue beyond. It's not just the elections that we're going to provide security. It's the future of Afghanistan
General
and how
Sadat,
we will live.
But General Sadat, there have been so many attacks lately.
That's correct. That's because the enemy have been losing tremendously in the battlefield. So in order for them to have a breaking news, they start to attack the civilian population in the middle of a city, in a hotel, in public places. Because they are so desperate for a news and for the name and for popularity, so they're trying to do they're trying to attack innocent people. And there's nothing to be proud of when you have innocent people in the cities dying. So that's a sign of loss for the enemy. It's not a success.
So can you promise that security measures will be taken to protect the voters?
The Afghan security forces will take all necessary measures to provide security for our compatriots to cast their vote. That I cannot reiterate. We are fully dedicated and committed to providing all necessary measures for our elections.
Final words from you, Mr. Sadat. What would you say to encourage voters to cast their vote on 28th of September?
Absolutely. I mean, I want to encourage all of our compatriots to come out. This is a historic event. Our national security forces are fully committed day and night to provide the security. This vote is going to be a sign of saying no to terrorism, saying no to the barbarism of the terrorists that are trying to hurt us and our nation. So this is a proud moment, and I want to encourage all of our people to come out and vote. And your security forces are going to be with you, and we will always be there to protect you. And because we are from you, and we will protect our people and our nation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rishtya, the same question I will ask you. What would you say to encourage voters to cast on the 28th of September?
I would like to say to all my people that this time the Commission is well prepared. Everything will be move very smoothly. There will be enough facility in all polling centers and stations. The number of voter per station reduced from 600 to 400 to give like relaxation to the voters and to use and cast their vote. I will strongly encourage them to come and participate in the election, and they elect their future president by their own decision and votes.
And the same question to you, Mr. Noormal. What would you say to encourage the voters to come and cast on the 28th of September?
I think the people are well informed about their future. They know that it's for them to decide about their future. There are two options for them. Option one is that go and cast your vote and decide about your future. And the second option is surrender to the enemy and take the country to an alternative where we can only see darkness. So I definitely urge all the Afghan people who are eligible to vote to go and cast their votes. We do have challenges we cannot deny, but we are making sure together, all of our entities, the Afghan National Security Forces, the IEC, everybody is trying their best to keep the challenges to minimum. We do know that in every democracy in the world, you cannot really expect something 100 out of 100, but we want to make sure that it's going to be with minimum challenges, and we have a very good elections with a transparent results that will be acceptable to the people of Afghanistan.
Thank you very much. Thank you to our panelists, General Khushal Sadat, Mr. Rishtya, Mr. Noormal, and our audience for joining us today on Global Talk at RTA London studio. Manana Khudaimo Malsha.